The guy, his old father is now more kind of bringing to the front. So there is this. He might be the president of Uganda next.
I think that I, it's possible. It's possible that they would want him to be a president. But I really don't think that you know the military. I don't know whether the military would allow him. They would not respect
But
him
he's
in the same
acting
way.
not like Amir. He's like doing this diplomacy, like he's acting like civilian.
Yeah, he's been intervening like diplomatically. I think his father sends him, but I don't
Yeah,
think
that's
he's that
exactly what
smart.
Lambert said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not that smart. I don't think he
No,
really
yes, his
is that
father will
smart. He just
almost.
sends messages. Like he will send messages to President Kagame, and then he will send messages to President Uhuru what his father said, and then he will send messages, stuff like that. So he will send messages like to the prime minister, and what he said,
I will not.
because
Yeah.
this.
Can you put up this light, please? Yeah, go on. Yeah, go on. Just no.
Yeah, so yeah, so because this meeting, his
This
meeting came
little.
his meeting with the prime minister came, remember, after the ambassador of Ethiopia in Uganda had
Yeah.
met President Museveni. Okay,
Mm.
so it was sort of like a response. I think that President Museveni sent his message. Okay, because this is
Yeah.
how diplomacy works. He sent his response message, you know, in response. He sent his message in response to the concerns which the ambassador raised, which the president of the prime minister raised it through the ambassador. So I think the president was responding directly. Okay, instead of sending that message through the ambassador of Uganda in Ethiopia, he decided to send his son to respond directly that this is what the situation is. This is what I think. This is, and President Museveni himself was saying when the ambassador of Ethiopia was meeting him, he was saying, oh, he believes that this issue should be handled with dialogue and stuff like that, and stuff like that. So he's just a voice for his father, but I don't think he's someone who's that smart to come out there and make his own issues or his own mind known. And if his father is training him, to be in power, it's possible. It's possible, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't see him having that
It
ability.
looks like it's inevitable for Museveni after, I think, whenever that election is. I don't think he will stay.
I don't see him having that ability to govern a country. I really don't see it.
How many of
Yeah,
the
with the military.
How many of the African leaders have that ability to
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, most of them they don't. But yeah, it's possible. It's possible that he would be. They may be grooming him. But I was thinking that somebody close in the military in Uganda would be someone who would be the one to take over power instead
and
of him.
being a very friend, what does Museveni has that I don't know. I mean, maybe you know. Um, he's a good friend with Ruto. Now with they have mended their relationship with Kagame. He's everywhere, you
No,
know.
no. Museveni wanted to. He wants to leave a legacy of having unified the East African community. This is an issue President Nyerere struggled with. If you go back to the 1960s, there was a contest. The organization of African unity itself, which you see, which is the African Union of today, was a result of mostly Nyerere's ideas. you know this regionalism, SADC, East African Community, ECOWAS, those were Nyerere's ideas, actually, if you look at it. And imperialism, because imperialism wanted to buy time so that they can have more time to exploit the continent. They supported those ideas, and they did not support Nkrumah's
Yeah.
ideas. So in
Mm-hmm.
1963, Nkrumah was seriously working, diplomatically working around the continent, sending envoys, Ghanaian envoys, to work on the unification of the continent into a single government. He was working around the clock. Like, Nkrumah had so much influence on the continent that no one else was. All the others, they started becoming suspicious. What? Some of them, they were saying that Nkrumah was going to overthrow them from power and stuff like that. So they started becoming suspicious. So what happened in 1963 is that Nyerere thought that he was equal to Nkrumah in intellectually, intelligence, and that what Nkrumah can say, Nyerere also has ideas, because they used to call him teacher Mwalimu Julius Nyerere. And
Mm-hmm.
so in 1963, Nyerere wanted to unify East Africa. Okay, you
Mm-hmm.
remember Uganda got its independence in 1962. But Nyerere tried to delay Tanzania's independence so that Tanzania can get independence together with Uganda and Kenya, and unify them into one country, the East Africa Federation, so that it can be one country. And Nkrumah was saying that that was dangerous. Nkrumah was saying that is a very dangerous move, because the regionalism, the creation of SADC, ECOWAS, and these regional groupings on the continent are going to leave windows for imperialism to penetrate and continue to exploit the continent. So we have to unify the continent, all of it, at once into one country. And Nyerere was saying that that is not possible. We are not gods. We cannot will the things into existence at once like that. But remember, Nyerere, when Tanzania was getting independence, it was called Tanganyika, and then it had an island called Zanzibar, which they combined it together to become Tanzania. Okay, but for him, he unified it immediately, because he said that if Zanzibar gets independence, it will be very hard for it to unify with Tanzania. So I found a little bit. This is not to denigrate or look down on what President Nyerere did, but I find him somebody who was contradictory in his belief, that he did not have one position. He saw that it was important to unify Tanganyika and Tanzania. I mean, Tanganyika and Zanzibar immediately to form Tanzania, because it would be dangerous in the future if he had tried, if he had left it, Zanzibar to be its own country. But he was resisting, the unification of the continent at once, because Nkrumah was saying that if we leave other countries to start getting independence, because that time it was 32 African countries which were independent in Addis Ababa, the formation of Organization of African Unity. So Nkrumah said that if we leave other African countries to get independence, it will be very hard for them to be unified. But if the 32 here who are here unify, then the others, if they join, it will be easier. It will be much easier for us to have a union. So Nyerere stood against that. So what happened in 1963 when they stood against that, when Nyerere stood against that, Nkrumah had so much influence on Dr. Milton Obote, who was the president in Uganda at that time. And this is one of the things which actually President Museveni was talking about today. I mean, recently, when yes, President Museveni was talking about this when PLO Lumumba was in Uganda recently to speak. They were doing an orientation for the MPs for the East African Parliament, and PLO Lumumba was there speaking. And actually, I sent PLO a message about it, and I told him that President Museveni said that the East Africans refused to unify the East Africa Federation, okay, in 1963, and he said that President Obote, who was the president of Uganda at that time, that he was dragging his feet. He's the one who defeated the agenda of unifying East Africa into one state. So President Museveni, he has been working on that to leave as a legacy. He wants to work in the shoes of, to walk in the shoes of
So Obote was
Mwalimu
for
Julius
forming
Nyerere.
the federation or
No, now
against?
Obote stood against uh, the federation. Why? Is because of Nkrumah. Nkrumah was having a lot of influence, okay, on the continent. Nkrumah told Obote that don't join that thing. That thing is very dangerous. Do not allow to join it. So that is how Nkrumah killed the East African Federation. And he did not just kill it, he killed it because Nyerere also killed the project of unifying Africa, into one state, getting a union government of Africa. So Nkrumah also said he would not allow the East Africa Federation to stand. So that is what happened, during that period. So Museveni recently was saying that people like Obote, they defeated, the idea of unifying East Africa into a federation, yet the people are the same. The people in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, they are just the same people. Tribes are the same, they are the same people. They are not different. Why are they not united? The language is the same. They have Swahili. Why are they not unifying and stuff like that? He said that Obote, so he was condemning Obote, that he was. But what I wrote to Pierre Lumumba, and I told him was that I think Museveni was oversimplifying the matters. He doesn't know what happened in 1963. President Nyerere himself, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, had stood against, the Union Government of Africa. You see, he had stood against it. So Nkrumah also had to kill the East Africa Federation. So it is not Obote who killed it. Actually, even after Dr. Milton Obote, he was the president of Uganda at that time, Dr. Milton Obote. So after that, Dr. Milton Obote was flown to Accra for his honeymoon with his wife. Because Nkrumah at that time was like the president of the African continent. Okay, so if he did not bless anything on the continent, it would not go ahead. And if he advised anything and you did not follow, then disaster followed. Because he was so knowledgeable, he was so ahead of everybody that it was,
that time as well.
yeah, he was so ahead of his time, and he had cultivated the continent, remember, since 1957 when Ghana achieved independence. 1954, since 1954 when he became, head, government, head of government in the Gold Coast. So he was cultivating the continent all that time. So he had so much influence during that time that if you stood up against him and you try to stand up against any project which he was working on, you have to give like serious reasons. Otherwise, if you try to start up some other project and he wants to kill it, like he would kill it. And that is what happened to the East Africa Federation. So they were just oversimplifying. I think President Museveni was oversimplifying. And actually, President Museveni did the same thing. When President Gaddafi wanted to unify, Museveni was the one who was standing up against Gaddafi. And now he's talking about unifying Africa, the same person. So they are doing the same thing. So Nyerere too, in 1997, came to Accra and said that Nkrumah was right, that we should have unified Africa in 1963. Yeah.
Before
came
he
to Accra.
departed, he said that.
Yes.
Nyerere. Okay.
Yes. So that is what happened with Africa. So we have a lot of problems. So we have really a lot of problems. So he admitted that he was right. So he said, actually Nyerere said that when Nkrumah died in 1972, that he took 10 years of consistent study for him to understand what Nkrumah was saying. And it took him 10 years for him to understand. So he had to study what Nkrumah was saying, his writings, for 10 consistent years after the death of Nkrumah, for him to understand what Nkrumah was saying. Because he did not understand what Nkrumah was saying in 1963 until Nkrumah died. So it is after 10 years after Nkrumah died in 1972, Nkrumah, that's when he died, that he understood what Nkrumah was saying. And now in 1997, he came to Accra and said that Nkrumah was right. Africa's problems, we were supposed to attack them immediately. after getting independence. That's when we were supposed to unify and attack the problems at once, not piecemeal build the regional bodies, because regional bodies, they have become nonsense. They can't do anything. They are tools for imperialism now, and these are all the things which Nkrumah warned about. He warned that these regional bodies which you people want to create are going to become tools for imperialism to continue dividing and dominating the continent. And that time they did not listen to him. So he told them that the solution right now is union. We have to face the Union Government of Africa. So they didn't listen. They didn't pay him a mind. And the results are what we have today: chaos and imperialism going, destroying here, bomb Somalia. Those are the things which followed. Bomb Somalia, go to Libya, bomb there, go to the Sahel. France is doing whatever it wants on the continent, recolonize about 14 Africa countries. United States put up military bases everywhere it wants. So what resulted, is the chaos now. United States is provoking Ethiopia, trying to destroy Ethiopia. So these are all results of that failure in 1963. Just a decision by heads of state, 32 heads of state in 1963, to unify the continent would have wiped out all these problems, like genocide which happened in Rwanda. We have the Biafra War, the Liberian War. All these, when you add those wars, which they have killed more than around 10 million people, just those wars. Because Rwanda genocide alone, over 1 million people. The Biafra War alone, around 1 million people. And who started those wars? All those wars were instigated by external forces. France, you have seen President Kagame fighting with France for some time. They aided that war. They started that war. They planted that war there. They were giving people weapons and telling other people that they are superior to others. They are dividing, the same divide and conquer tactic which I was telling you. They were telling one tribe that is superior, these ones, they're supposed to be their slaves and stuff like that. So, and they gave them weapons. So Kagame has had problems with France for, for a very long time, because of that. So these are all the issues that developed. When you go to the Biafra War in Nigeria, also around 1 million people died. But what was the war about? Was for the control of the oil. And it is the companies, the Western companies, they were the ones which were supplying the weapons and telling one group that they should separate from the country. So all these, you go to the Liberian War, you go to Sierra Leone, the many people who have died in the Congo. Now you go to Libya, you go to Somalia. So we have lost more than 10 million people just to these senseless wars, just because one decision like this, which we didn't do. Now you look at the war, the Ethiopia-Eritrea war. So we had that one too. So one decision like this of unifying the continent in 1963 would have prevented all this chaos on the continent. And now we are here in still more chaos and more domination of the continent by external powers. Yeah. So yeah. So those are the issues. Those were these are the consequences of not listening to. These were the consequences of not listening to Nkrumah and what he told us. But I think this generation, we have to do it. If we don't do it, it's going to be bad for us. We have to do it. This generation, we have to do it. You have muted yourself, Mallet. You are muted.
Okay, I said I'm not sure in this generation, but what I am sure is many people will be awakened, and their children will not be, or our children will not be. I don't think they will accept, or I don't think it will be difficult for them to unite.
Yeah, I think there's a new awakening. There's a new awakening. I do believe you. There's a new awakening within the African world. But this time we have to try and push. We have to try and push the thing. We have to try and push the struggle to the end. If we don't, it is going it is going to be worse than the killings on our continent by these people, these Europeans, for the control of our resources. They are going to be even worse than what happened, in slavery and colonialism and what has happened in the past. There will be a lot of killings on the continent. They will kill our people, starving. People will starve. Water will be taken away. Food will be controlled and rationed. Everything, because you see the situation which the United States and Europe is going through. They would want to rebuild it and continue to be superpowers and continue to be rich. And the only place left to exploit is Africa, because Russia cannot allow to be exploited. China cannot allow to be exploited. You can see that in the Middle East, people have resisted. Afghanistan chased them away. So the only place where people are not fighting against the exploitation is Africa. So we also have to take them up, because they cannot stand fighting. You see, they are cowards. You can see what happened in Afghanistan. They ran away. They ran away from Afghanistan. Yeah, they are cowards, but it's just that they intimidate, and when they intimidate and you give in, but when it comes like combat, like gun, man to man, they cannot fight with Africa. They cannot fight a war in Africa and win. You see? So once you say we have time, they are
All that
coming from
military, it's a show up there.
the what?
No, all that military thing, line up and settling their
No, they
military,
can't.
having military
When you are
base.
fighting, from your home, you are fighting for for survival. These people are fighting for aggression. They can't win a war on African soil. If Africa started like we are fighting man to man, that is why you see that they concentrate on dividing the people, because they know if you come together, they can't stand. Even three countries, if they come together, these people, they can't beat them. They can't fight on African soil and win a war. Even you can see it even during colonialism, that African countries, when they started coordinating, these people, they were not able to survive on the continent, because there were wars in Angola, there were wars in Guinea, there were wars in Mozambique, but Africans were coordinating during that period. There were wars in Algeria, and Africans were working together and sharing notes. And they lost all those wars. They lost them. So in South Africa, they saw the same thing was coming. So they had to give in very quickly. You see? They had to take concessions very quickly, because the Africans were organizing themselves. Like they wanted to go and attack the apartheid regime in South Africa and overthrow it with force. So Africans were just coordinating themselves. Like imperialism is just scare. They just scare, spend all this money. They even right now they are in so much crisis. They don't have money. You see? Right now they are in so much crisis compared even to those times of the 1940s and 60s. And if we were able to defeat them during the 60s when they had a lot of money, so what of now when they don't have money? So they are in real trouble. So it's just that we need to work together. We need to understand that they are using divide and rule tactics, and we need to be alert to, and have the understanding of all these tricks and tactics. Once we understand that these guys, they can't last in a war if we start fighting with them. Like man to man, we take up weapons, go to the bush and start fighting. They can't. They can't last on the African continent.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Kwame. Uh, what else I wanted to say? One last thing, but we are not going to discuss it. I will just drop the information. Sister Choice, I had a talk with her maybe, I don't know, 10 days ago or something.